Hey, how we doing today, folks? It's me again, Shannon Fox here, Devoted Patriots channel. This is the very first time I've actually used StreamYard by myself to try to bring y'all a video. So this is trial and error. Hopefully it goes as planned. Now, I've got a couple little short feeds I want to read y'all before I play this video for y'all. Just a little more Majorkissass getting scorned by Rand Paul, of all people. Let me go ahead and read you a little bit of what I wanted to get into today. I thought it was great news. There's a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news over here on the gateway, but let me just say this. The good news is good news. Let's see here. Let me get into this first article. After the Trump rally, actually during the Trump rally, Dinesh D'Souza had a speech. It's probably one of the better speeches as far as I'm concerned at the rally in Pennsylvania there. And he was talking about the movie, talking about the unprecedented number, 400,000, just at least 400,000. And they were talking about over 1,000 something just people, them backpack bandits over there in Pennsylvania as well. And that's a heck of a number. They said a big part of them was Pennsylvania was a problem. Matter of fact, in about 5 or 6 states there was a problem that they can say for 100% fact. But I won't get into that too much. But they just said it did start raining with torrential rains during the rally, and the people didn't go nowhere. People didn't run scrambling, running out there like a bunch of left wokies. They just sat there and waited for Trump to show. That's great news. See that people are so determined to be a part of this movement. I love it. I love it. There were some key excerpts from the speech that I thought were pretty good, and a couple of them I can't really mention because you know how Trump is with his language. But he basically says Biden didn't get the choosings; he just got the papers. You know, that's I guess the best way I could put that. And the only way they can win is do the nasty, and you know what I'm talking about there. He had a lot to say about it like that, and I really can't get into that too much, but let me just move on to the next one. Now, this is funny for the situation that's happened with this Roe versus Wade leak and everything, and the Democrats don't think that the leak is a problem, but they think that the upcoming turnaround on this decision will be a problem, and so they're throwing a fit. Well, there was a poll out by CNN of all places that polled a bunch of people before and after this leak happened, and it boils down to one specific fact. This didn't change anybody's vote. So this whole attempt to divide the country with this Roe versus Wade leak, it has probably divided a lot of people's mentalities. But as far as people actually going to show up at the polls, even CNN says it probably didn't help the Democrats one drop. Matter of fact, it looks like the Republicans are up a couple of percent in just over a week in their registrations and in upcoming participation in all these primary races. Now, everybody needs to go vote when it comes time in your state. If you don't already know, voting does matter. Primaries are coming up in several states. We just had 3 already in the last month or so, including here in Texas. And when it comes around to your state, vote, vote, vote. That's all I want to say about that. Now, let me go ahead and there's one more thing I want to bring y'all. Let's see here. What was it? Well, yeah, I can't say that either. I'll leave that alone. Let's go ahead and get into this video. This is Rand Paul blasting Majorkissass, and Majorkissass not really having a whole lot to, not a very good answer. Check it out, folks.
I had no idea what disinformation is, and I don't think the government's capable of it. Do you know who the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world is? The U.S. government. Are you familiar with McNamara, the Pentagon Papers? Are you familiar with George W. Bush and the weapons of mass destruction? Are you familiar with Iran-Contra? I mean, think of all the debates and disputes we've had over the last 50 years in our country. We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I want you to have nothing to do with speech. Do you think the Steele dossier included Russian disinformation?
Senator, that's not a question that I'm equipped to answer.
It was in the public news. It was you may have heard of it, the Mueller investigation. It was a.
Now, I'm going to stop it right there just for just a half a second. This guy is playing dumb to the fact like he didn't know anything about the Mueller investigation, the whole Russia hoax. This guy knows more about that than probably most people in the country, and he's playing dumb again. So let's go ahead and finish watching this. And I just like calling him out on his lies and his obfuscation. Check it out, folks. I'll finish the video.
$32 million investigation that went over a couple of years. Horowitz was an investigator general, and he looked at the FBI's activity in the beginning of this. And what the FBI concluded was that there were FBI agents throughout this period of time who concluded that, yes, the dossier was full of Russian disinformation. So let's say it is Russian disinformation. You say your new disinformation governance board is going to help the public with disinformation. You claim it's not going to be about domestic, it's going to be about foreigners and those evil Russians. So here's my question. The FBI concludes that the Steele dossier was full of Russian disinformation. CNN propagated this disinformation gladly for years and years. The difference, I guess, between your opinion and our opinion is that as despicable as it is that CNN propagated this disinformation, I wouldn't shut them down. I wouldn't lecture them. I wouldn't put it on a government website that CNN's wrong for propagating disinformation. The problem you have is you're not even willing to admit, I mean, we can't even have an agreement on what the FBI said was disinformation. How do you propose that you're going to have an office of disinformation governance if you see the problem in even determining what is disinformation?
Oh, sir.
That is the best answer, or that is the best question he's had so far. How are you, who are zero credibility, ever going to be able to be the disseminator of truth with all this disinformation? If you can't admit about the laptop and about the Russia collusion hoax and the Mueller probe and all that stuff, how can you be in charge of the Ministry of Truth and all this disinformation? That's a great question. You know, if you're a liar and you're proven to be a liar, how are they going to let you be the arbiter of truth? Now, let me get back to the video, folks.
Because our work is not focused on disinformation writ large. Where we, the Department of Homeland Security, become involved is when there's a connectivity between disinformation and threats to the security of the homeland.
Well, that's what the Russians might be considered that. You mentioned the Russians the other day when you tried to pivot away from this being about censorship. But let's say it is the Russians. I know you're not going to ever agree that the Steele dossier, which y'all spent so much money on, was disinformation. But it was, and the FBI concluded. But let's just say there's an imaginary disinformation. You've discovered tomorrow Russian disinformation that's going to hurt our national security, and CNN's broadcasting it. What are you going to do?
Senator, let me...
You're going to tell Putin you shouldn't do this.
Senator,
what are you going to do?
Senator, let me explain what we do in the Department of Homeland Security with respect to disinformation, and frankly, what we've been doing for nearly 10 years across different administrations. The cartels propagate disinformation that Title 42 does not apply to a particular community of migrants from a particular country.
How are they propagating this?
If I may, through social media. And what we do through U.S. Customs and Border Protection is actually communicate via social media and other channels that is false, that we do apply Title 42.
So let's say there's Russian disinformation as well. Are you going to take to social media and broadcast that people are broadcasting something incorrect about what do you think is Russian disinformation?
Senator, let me emphasize.
Well, you said the other day Russians, and now you're saying not so much the Russians, you're saying the cartels.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, Senator. You're mischaracterizing my statement.
Then what are you going to do if there's Russian disinformation? You're going to broadcast something on social media?
Allow me to share when we become involved in the Department of Homeland Security. We become involved when disinformation poses a threat to the security of our country. It is when there's a connectivity to
Let me go ahead and get back up here. I just had to say something, folks. This is a fact. This is the same guy that decided that the FBI needs to go after the parents for spreading disinformation about CRT and transgender crap in the schools. And he labeled the parents as terrorists. Remember that. So this is the guy that wants disinformation to be a cloudy area that he controls, that he claims it's about terrorism and watching for terrorism in the name of safety. But he's the same guy within a week's time of getting this letter jumped on the parents, sent the FBI to jump on the parents for being concerned about their kids. Now that is as far from terroristic human beings as anybody. People that are concerned about their kids don't fall in the terrorist category, and so he has already proven himself to be on the side of the left and on the side of silencing the truth. They're not a ministry of truth; they're a ministry of misinformation, and that's the truth. That's the way I feel about it. Just my opinion. That these folks are lying their butt off, and they are trying to attack everybody they can with this ministry of truth in order to silence the masses, because nobody's happy with the way folks like this guy here are lying to us and how they're treating us. Now let me go ahead and finish the video for you folks.
Threat to our country. It could be a threat, connectivity to violence. And what this working group does, is precisely what I would think you would want it to do, which is to take a look at the work, the disinformation work that our department has done, and ask the following questions. Do we have policies? Do we have guardrails? Do we have
but here's the problem. We can't even agree. We can't even agree what disinformation is. You can't even agree that it was disinformation, that the Russians fed information to the Steele dossier. If you can't agree to that, how are we ever going to come to an agreement on what is disinformation so you can police it on social media?
Senator, I have 2 points, if I may finish. Number one, that what this working group does, because it's not an office, what this working group does is ensure that there are guardrails, definitions, standards to make sure that the free speech rights, the civil rights, civil liberties, and privacy rights of individuals.
So do you think COVID disinformation threatens our national security?
And number two, if I may, Senator, and number two, is it your proposition that when the cartels spread disinformation with respect to our immigration policies to try to lure vulnerable migrants to our border illegally?
I think you've got no idea what disinformation is, and I don't think the government's capable of it. Do you know who the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world is? The U.S. government. Are you familiar with McNamara, the Pentagon Papers? Are you familiar with George W. Bush and the weapons of mass destruction? Are you familiar with Iran-Contra? I mean, think of all the debates and disputes we've had over the last 50 years in our country. We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I don't want you guardrails. I want you to have nothing to do with speech. You think we can't determine, speech by traffickers is disinformation? You think the American people are so stupid they need you to tell them what the truth is? You can't even admit what the truth is with the Steele dossier. I don't trust government to figure out what the truth is. Government is largely disseminating disinformation. So I do have a question, and here's the question. So the Russians, maybe some cartels. What about COVID disinformation? Is that in your bailiwick for your disinformation governance board?
What y'all think about that, folks? That is just crazy stuff. I like to see Majorkissass getting grilled. I've been doing lots of videos of him lately. He's been on the chopping block quite a bit lately. Now I'm fixing to jump off of here. I'm going to take my wife to go do some bowling today. They got a new bowling place to bowl and arcade and several entertaining things, virtual reality type stuff here in town. They just opened the place. We're going to go do that today, being Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And I also want to let everybody know, if you haven't already secured your tickets for the screening tonight, the virtual screening of Dinesh D'Souza's 2000 Donkeys movies, I just secured mine. It's worth the $20 to be able to watch the movie for me, for a couple of reasons. I'll end up watching it with my wife. It's one of the things that hopefully she'll watch with me and understand where I'm coming from. Excuse me. A lot of times when I talk so much politics, maybe she'll understand a little of my frustration as to why I feel the way I do after she watches this movie. But the $20, not a bad price to be able to get it in home. I believe I can get on the Fire Stick and use the web browser on the Fire Stick, and should be able to pull it up on Locals or Rumble on my television. So that's the plan. But at any rate, I just want to let everybody know that that movie's out. It's worth the $20 to go see it. My friend Dave and Callie's already seen it at the premiere. Much more expensive to see at the actual premiere. But at any rate, he said it will be worth what you pay to watch it. And I think it's worth it for one main reason, more than anything else, not just exposure, but the fact that Dinesh D'Souza has put a lot of time, a lot of his own money, and a lot of effort into trying to make this movie, document the video footage, and give props to people like True the Vote for helping him collaborate all this information into one spot so we can actually get it in movie format. He's done a great service for this country, and that's why I support Dinesh D'Souza. I don't mind paying to watch his movies. It's the least I can do. $20, I would donate to Dinesh D'Souza the $20 in a heartbeat, just because of the great things he's doing, and like exposing Stacey Abrams and the Kemps and the Raffenspergers and all the nefarious characters that are so involved in all this stuff. Like, subscribe, and share, Devoted Patriots. Hope you enjoyed it.